Yo! What's good, peoples? Happy Friday to all of you. Find an agreeable level here for our audio. Hope you're all well. Feeling inspired today. Who's got big plans for the weekend? Anyone? Paul's tuning in from windy Maryland. It's gorgeous here, man. It is, it's like really, really beautiful blue with like Simpson clouds. It's pretty idyllic. Very, very little breezy. Like little wisps of breeze. That's it. Probably gonna be pretty nice all day, I bet. Bunch. How are you? How are things across the pond? Saf, this is this right here. It's just some reactor blocks. Love. Andremia, welcome in. How are you? Windy Pennsylvania here, huh? Or there, rather. Saf, I got your message this morning about your first sale. Congratulations. That's big time. I hope this means you'll be bringing even more of that kind of stuff through for feedback. Proud of you for sticking with it, homie. It all starts with the very first sale. It really does. Javar, welcome in, dude. Speaking of first sales, Javar, have you started setting up like a marketplace portfolio anywhere yet, or are you still accumulating and compiling? There's a pretty solid way to roll out in the marketplaces. I can't remember if I've shared with you the inside scoop on that, but we can talk about that a bit today if you like. I know a few of you in here are looking to make money with what you're doing. Yeah, Sav, send them on over. It's Feedback Friday. And if you got it like a whole slew of them, you can just shoot them over in an email or something. Nice, Jafar. That's awesome. All right, so it's Feedback Friday, so everybody with stuff in the public feedback queue will get ears on their stuff. Probably have to cut the stream just a tiny bit shy today, just a few minutes early. Probably have to boogie. Kiddo's got second COVID shot today, so it's pushing around some scheduling of things. So yeah, Saf, tagging is where it's at. I'm glad that you feel like tagging led to the first sale, but I will tell you, tagging is simply how people find your stuff. It really is your work that leads to the sale. Like, it's a combination of the attention to details with keywords and written descriptions, and like remembering to tag your image if you use an image, like all the tiny details for SEO and stuff. And then, of course, the sound, right? Because your sound is not the only thing being put in front of that person when those search results pop up. So keep in mind, man, it's a balanced effort. Are you remembering to save a document with the different keyword groups that you're using for your different sounds. It's important that you do that so you don't have to go back and recreate that all the time. And kind of keep notes on which ones are starting to get traffic once you start to get sales, because you really don't get any traffic until you start to get sales in any of these places, really. It's just the way that the algorithms work. But once you start to pick up momentum, you'll be able to start looking at some analytics on the back end of things, and that'll be limited and different from marketplace to marketplace. So you want to just kind of keep notes on what groups of keywords you think are working best for what types of sounds. Hey, Paul! Congratulations, homie. You made it to old. I'm happy for you. Collect those checks, homie. Those come, what, monthly? So, you can like pick up a new pedal once a month, maybe a new toy for your rack, like every other month, something like that. Oh, Saf, don't even worry about it, dude. You can just go in there and copy the tags. Like, you can go into any of your product pages in any of your marketplaces and just copy the information that you wrote in there and just paste it into a little text document somewhere. And then do that each time you upload something. And then periodically, like I would probably, personally, I'd do it like in a spreadsheet so you can sort it in different ways and whatnot, right? So keep one column for number of sales and keep another column for maybe like total income made, and then maybe you have a few columns off to the side for the different license types that you've sold, right? Whether it be some sort of personal license or professional license, or, you know, like worldwide broadcast license or whatever. But right, Paul? Are there going to be any more purchases in your world in regards to effects? Like in the physical space, not for anything that would work on your computer or with VCV. Kind of curious. I feel like there's a couple of unicorn devices out there, like rare beast devices, that I'll probably get around to getting at some point, but I am pretty darn happy with the digital age, to be perfectly honest. Just buy new synths with those government checks. Oh, Loose, welcome in. Happy Friday. Good to have you in, homie. How you doing? We should probably hit the Discord here and see what people are doing. I updated my operating system. You guys will love this. So I update my operating system, which of course means I then, you know, I update the logic and a whole bunch of apps and then a whole bunch of plugins. Long story short, this latest Mac operating system, all of them haven't really enjoyed exFAT formatting of drives, but this one completely hates it. And one of my external drives, the one that my kontakt instruments are on, is exFAT. So I have to move a couple of terabytes off of this thing and onto a journaled drive for it to function again. It's actually kontakt that's the worst. Like, I could handle I unencrypted the drive so it works a little bit quicker, and I can move stuff pretty freely in the Mac environment. Like, I don't have any issues. But when it comes to Kontakt, man, everything just freezes up. Anyone else feeling that pain? On loose, I'm pretty good. It's Friday. Which synth, Paul? I know, Indremia, I waited as long as I could. Liv, welcome in. Oh, man. Good. I'm glad stuff is still working for you. Oh, man. Kontakt. Well. Oh. Well, if you had an exFAT formatted drive, it would work perfectly fine with your Windows machine. And to be perfectly fair, it does. It works like... It works 100% of the time with my Mac. It's just now with this new operating system, and whatever update was made to Kontakt for that operating system release, it no longer works. It like completely hangs. I have to do this funky little workaround to get stuff to work again. But then kits aren't loading right. So I did all of this yesterday, and already 2 different times I laid down a bunch of stuff and I walked away for a bit, and I didn't print the stuff to audio immediately. And I'm kicking myself for it, because when I walked away, I was like, that's freaking fire. Like, that's gonna sell. And then I come back and I'm like, where are my flipping instruments? Yeah, it's rough. All right, so Discord. Thanks for letting me vent. Oh, we got updates. All right, here we go. PlayStation Network integration is here. All right. So... Tom, if you're checking out the VOD when you wake up, big ups on finishing the first crypto game soundtrack that you were working on, man. That's awesome. You'll have to fill us in on the entire experience. I think I speak for all of us when I say we miss you around here, homie. I hope you're doing well. Today's the 18th. Hey, we've only got one in the queue so far. This might just be a light day. We might make some more music for the channel. All right, let's do this. Let's get... let's see here. Oops. All right, let's stop this for a bit. Little demo. All right. This one's called Stay in Love. It's from Unloose. Here we go. All right. I want to listen to a couple more things in here. All right, I think your kick seems a little hot and a little bit wide, and I think the snare could be more expansive, kind of like an upward expanding compression instead of a downward compression on that would probably work really well to kind of release some more energy out of it. And then if you could have just a touch more reverb spray, like just a little bit more decay on that snare, and EQ out the low end in the reverb on that snare as well to help keep it really bright, that reflection really bright. And I think it would be kind of the perfect companion for that kick. One other thing in here. So you can kind of hear and feel just how wide the whole mix is, and you should try and find a couple of things that are just really centered, and then move some of the frequencies that are really down low in the sides just out entirely. And see if that kind of opens up the entire song. I also think you're pushing the luffs pretty hard. There's a fair bit of pressure in the loudness, so it kind of makes me feel like it's been compressed quite a bit. So a couple of things. I know I mentioned the kind of upward compression versus downward compression on the snare, but that might also be the case for one of the synth sounds as well. It's kind of hard to tell when they're all hitting at the same time. You do have some highs that get a little close to the pain points, but I think that's just because of the overexpansion, the loudness. So I would wrangle in the luffs, make sure that you're not, getting turned down by streaming services or being compressed more. You should be in control of that, I think. And then I think this thing's pretty good. So it's just a couple of little nitpicky things, really. Hey, nice, Femties. Yeah, the comment about modulating some resonance or something to make it feel more organic. Yeah. I think that filters in general, just any kind of small movement, as long as you're not upsetting the phase of your lowest frequencies down there, I think you're good. Are you cutting out the lowest sub frequencies in that bass that you don't need? It feels like the bass itself has a fair bit of compression on it. And I'd challenge you to find a way to get to the type of fullness and loudness through saturation, distortion, rather than the compression. If you can get away with it, don't compress your low end at all. And then it never feels like anything is pushing on it. You know what I mean? Like when you hear a really nice bass on a really big system, how it has this full, like this very full feeling to it. And sometimes you hear these basses, you can hear it in this one where it feels like the top isn't quite as round as the rest of the sound, isn't quite as full. And that's coming from the compression. So I would challenge you to find a way to make your stuff stand out more with saturation and distortion instead. I think you'll love the effect of it. The other awesome byproduct of that is that it's generating a lot more harmonics up high. And then that gives your track more energy up there to commingle which is where some real magic can happen, like when nice modulation is occurring and stuff. So Samsung, if it depends on what the remix is. If it's an open public contest, so the track is not actively, being tracked, then sure. But we don't want to play anything that could get a DMCA strike or copyright strike here. But if it's all good, then drop it in the Discord. If you're unsure, just drop a different work in progress that you're working on. And happy to put yours on it. Yeah, you bet, dude. Absolutely. All right, so Paul is up next. Uncle Chrome in the chat, and he says, made this plane with Volt's Anima Psychic Sequencer and CompuScare's Dancing Faces. Okay. I'm going full screen for Paul. This is such a trip. David, welcome in. This music you're listening to right now is from the one and only Paul Artola, also known as Uncle Chrome. Wowie indeed. Right, Tremties? This is what you come back to. It is. It is. This is from Uncle Chrome. I like that. Man, little Greenie is still going strong over there. This has such a classic vibe to it. Just imagine some harsh sounds in there. Right, Samsung? Paul, this was a fun little departure from the normal. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing, homie. That's always a pleasure. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, absolutely, like some subliminal messaging is happening, right? Paul says, main synth is a complex oscillator with lots of cross-modulating. Paul, do you have complete... I forget if I've asked you this before. The reason I ask is there is a reaktor ensemble. It's like a multi-effects processor that I think could be right up your alley. It's called Molecular. We've played with a couple of times on stream here. But parts of what I was hearing in there like really made me want to run this whole thing through there and play with it a bit. It's a very cool thing to be playing with, actually, if you've not checked it out yet. Cool. Yeah, if you've got complete of any sort, then it's in there, I believe. Or if you have like the full version of Reactor, I think it might come with. I'm not sure. Liv. All right, Cardio Party is up next. This one is called Industry 2.18. I love WIP names. We got to go back and listen to something really quick. Feels good. Feels good. Feels better. It's the bass. That's what it is. It's the bass. It's what is making the juxtaposition of the vocals feel so perfect. It's got like a touch of the tigress kind of effect. You know what I mean? There's a loss of balance when that bass goes away, and it has to do with how the vocals are cut, I think, frequency wise. It's just so pleasing to hear those two together, and the bass changes for a small amount of time there, and I think that's what's affecting the overall timbre. That's what I'm talking about, the commingling effect. Remember, I was just saying this in the first round of feedback to Unloose about using saturation instead of compression in the attempt to make things louder and more textured and stuff. It's constantly adding more frequencies to the mix up there. And that commingling does some really, really great things. Yeah, the bass is perfect. Okay, let's run through this. I love the crunchy intro, super fun groove. 55, that this happened at like, I don't know, 35 and 55, somewhere in there, where you've like pulled those two layers apart there, and it's just something really awesome that's happening. It'd be great to have even more separation between those things. Yeah, just really good. Love the transition at 120. Really, really like it. Maybe a very small reversal in there as well. I know there's a lot going on. Yeah, really tasty. 143. 245. I didn't go back and listen. I was trying to remember what the sound was while I was typing. It was kind of squeeze box-ish-y. Anyway, I think the vocals, that new vocal sample that comes in there, I think it's competing quite a bit with the instrument there. So if that gets moved off to the side, you keep the vocals in the center, you keep the vocals up a bit, you bring that instrument down a bit. Maybe put a filter on it or just kind of EQ off some of those high mids where they're both kind of hitting. Oh, at that drop at 3 minutes, I think you could have kind of a delay / reverb spray that goes and kind of play with it a bit. Maybe pump it just a little bit. Love all of the saturation and textures you're playing with. Watch the LUFs before you go into your master. Don't let too many highs get close. Keep them in check the same way that you do your bass. This is really good. This is really good. Let's see what people in the chat are saying. You just equalize those layers. I'm kind of a big fan of what you were doing there. It's like, I mean, seriously, let's just go back to it really quick. Yeah, it's just these like a couple of pulses of energy. Maybe what needs to happen is like there's actively, maybe it's like actively dipping down right before that or something. I don't know. It'd be cool to find more separation again, just to ape it. Not that I'm like taking over your track or anything. Yeah, the energy. This song is like a day old. You're working it. You've been doing this on your stream? Yeah, absolutely. I'll put this in Discord for you. Yeah, I'm sure you got your levels. Yeah, trusty replica. Yeah, it's good to have a few things in the hopper at once, right? I usually have at least a few projects cooking at any one time. Oh, nice cardio. I like hearing that, Liv. Yeah, the number of people that work with there are literally people that set up Discord servers just for feedback on stuff. So they have like a one shared place where the entire team can pull it up regardless of where they're working on stuff in the mix or the master or whatever. I think it's a pretty clever thing actually. But it's fun hearing how people use the feedback. That's awesome. Okay, next up. All right, we got David. This one's called Funky Shit. Let's check this. Yeah, this is feeling good. This is feeling good. What are you using to produce this? It's got a nice little bright and light intro. That bass is super funky sounding, very much fits the mood. There's a lot going on the sides, and it feels like a lot of stuff that has been panned has been pushed all the way out. So what I would recommend is bringing a lot of that over here. So that way, regardless of what kind of sound system this is on, you're leaving room in the middle for the bass, but you're putting the sounds more forward facing. When they're way out here, it can be kind of distracting, and you don't really want that in a really groovy, funky tune like this usually, because you want the heartbeat of the kick and the groove of that bass to really be everything. Like that's the focus, right? And those claps should be whoosh, closer to center, like maybe 10 out, not like 50 or 60 out. So that's one thing that will help the overall mix. There's a couple of volume mix things. Kind of makes me want to ask you to save a version of this and do a fresh volume mix, starting from 0 on every track, starting with the hero of the song, which I think is the bass. Kind of bring that up as the main thing, so the kick would come up underneath that, and kind of prioritize sounds in relation to the groove. Like, what is it that's making the groove itself really pop? Not what kind of instrument do most people prioritize in the clubs that you go to, okay? Because that song is not what everyone else is producing. So, and then when you get done with that volume mix, A/B those two things. And I think that you'll probably find that the one where you're mixing around the bass instead of the kick, etc., is more infectious, as it should be, right? Because you want it to be this kind of irresistible thing, and it's like you've got all the components. It's really just about placement and prioritization now, and that's it. Like this is a pretty solid track. 145. There's another byproduct of the volume mix issues here. There's a couple of different synth layers that are getting buried and they're harder to hear. And I know that there are more supportive characters in the mix, but they shouldn't be disappearing to that degree. And giving each thing its own space in the stereo field, as well as making sure that you're paying close attention to the lowest frequencies of each sound, that you're not allowing too much competition in the mid frequencies. Each one of those tiny little things is going to add up to a much more full and like better representation of all of your sounds. So 204, just want to say I love the emotional dynamics that you've built into this thing, as well as the overall arc of the song. It's put together nicely. I think this is some nimble funk. It's got a really bright and upbeat groove. I think this would do very well for you. What are your intentions with it? What are you hoping to do with this track? Is this for release out into the wild for listening pleasure? Is this something that you're shopping around and, you know, hope to sell licenses of, or what? Ah, I knew it was FL. Absolutely. There's not a sound necessarily with FL unless you're using like a bunch of presets or anything. What I tend to notice is more of a style thing. Like I think there's kind of a preference of some users. I think we all know what we're talking about. Like you hear it with Ableton, and you hear it with Logic and Cubase as well. Like the way that we get into our workflows and the way that we're assembling our stuff, you can kind of hear it. Liv, you would flirt with FL, and I think you'd end up in the yeah, you'd become entwined. I think there's some stuff in there that I would become entwined with as well. There's a few things that FL has that I'm fairly enamored with. In fact, I would say that every single DAW has at least like 10 things that I really, really love. Like that are not the basics, right? Like effects or workflow things. Irresistible, Javar. Caflorication. Frolicsome. What's up, subvids? Just commercial use. Okay. So so you're talking like I think this should be in a, personally, I think this should be in a royalty-free portfolio. I think that hundreds of people would end up buying this and putting it into different commercials. I can see it in the background as explainer video content. I can see this being used as intro, outro music on live streams and podcasts. I could see you slicing this up and putting 6 or 7 versions into one download, and really increasing the overall value of it for the buyer, and you'd probably make some coin off of this. I don't know if you've considered setting up a royalty-free portfolio before, but that would be this is the type of music that would excel in that kind of space. Mm-hmm. Live. Oh yeah, I can't. That's why I've stayed with Logic all the years. Is all the stocks. I use the stock plugins in Logic just as much as I use my favorite third-party stuff. Yeah, and the thing that I would leave Logic for to go to Ableton would be all the Max for Live stuff. The things that I would leave Ableton for FL would probably be beat making stuff. I think Edison is pretty cool. I don't know. It's some workflow things. with FL. There's some workflow things in FL that just drive me nuts as a Logic user. So I don't know. It's tough. Once the full MIDI integration comes to Audio Design Desk, it'll be I don't know, maybe 25% of the time that I'm in Logic. Kind of flip where I am now, probably. Yeah, you know what? Since there's not a whole ton of stuff in the queue today, and we did have a quick conversation at the beginning with Saffronworks' first sale happening. Big ups to Saf, congrats again. And Javar starting to get the process going for setting up his portfolio. I think we should. I think we should cut feedback off around noon or so, which is in like 45 minutes, and we could just talk like best practices of how to get started in a marketplace successfully, because it's hard. It's hard, and it can take a while. You have to be really dedicated to make it work. One of the nicest things about it, though, is that it is a realistic and sustainable way to build a passive income. And in the days of, well, where we are with everything, it's kind of nice to have that kind of thing. Yeah, everything has their stuff. You are right, Liv. Subviz says, what places to go and submit licensing your music for soundtracks, etc.? Oh, that's a good question. Samsung Orange Ringtone says, I do envy all of Logic's solid instruments out of the box. FL does have Flex, which I love. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A while. How do you know when that while is too wily? That's a good question too. Let's table both those questions about where to look and how do you know when a while is too wily, which is a great way of asking that. We'll tackle that in like 15, 20 minutes after we listen to these tracks here. Because these are really good questions and they don't deserve to be glossed over. And there really is a good kind of proven way of finding success and actually building a following in these marketplaces. So the robot does ask deep questions. It's as if this robot has been all over the universe or the galaxy or somewhere in between. We may never know. All right. Bill Bobman. Okay, this is going to be good. These are always good. Let's do this. We travel. Get around. Carol, welcome in. Hmm. All right. Bill Bob, man, I really always enjoy what you bring. It's cool and it stands on its own, and I really appreciate that. I don't think the clipping sounds are from the music. I think it is Streamlabs and perhaps something about the OS update I just did. So I'll look. Sorry, it's crackling on y'all. Really like the funky mood and timbre play there in the intro. Your LUFS are too high. I think you're just kind of peaking in a few different ways. I think that there's some overcompression happening and some overdriving happening. I love the aloof nature of it. The unpredictability of the arrangement and where you go with your modulation. I think this thing deserves a fresh volume mix, no limiters, no compressors. See if you can bring your sounds to the levels that you want them through saturation. This is a similar thing to the very first bit of feedback that I gave this morning. It's a similar kind of it's a similar kind of effect that we're hearing here. The ability to hear bass well in a mix really doesn't have anything to do with compression. It has to do with the frequencies that are present during playback. And some systems are not capable of producing the frequencies that many people are really pumping up. So if you're pumping up the lowest frequencies and hoping that the bass will be heard a lot, it's oftentimes going to end up working against you because it's going to trigger those compressors earlier than the rest of the sound, which means you're going to be squashing it as soon as that big heavy bass comes in, and all sorts of funky things start to happen. It's this kind of trickle down effect. So what I would recommend is if there is limiting in the mix, take it all off. If there is any kind of maximization, take it off. If you've got compression on your bass right now, take it off. Then do a fresh volume mix and start to work on loudness and presence through different types of saturation. And they don't have to be driven. These don't have to be hard, crunchy distortions. These can be very, very transparent overdrives. This is just about making your stuff more audible through the building of harmonics, and that's it. And you will be pleasantly surprised by just how much better everything ends up sounding. So watch bass frequencies in the sides. When other sounds are present, you don't have to worry about it at all when other sounds are not present. And maybe a bit more separation for that vocal that comes in towards the end there. I think it's lovely. I think it has a profound effect on the mix. And if it was sitting on top of everything just a little bit more defined, I think it would be just absolutely perfect. So let's see what chat has to say. Dremia, dude eating Fruit Loops. Oh, I know. I'll make a DAW and name it Fruity Loops. Yeah, Javar, I've been hearing the glitching too. I thought that it was just the typical Streamlabs thing, but then it just kept persisting. So I think it probably has to do with the update because I didn't see an update for Streamlabs today. So I'm assuming that it was something having to do with my update. Carol says, I've smashed my track into the limiter and compressor, the last refuge of someone that can't mix. Carol, is this you? Hey, what's up, Will? Happy Friday. Hola, homie. Oh, Samsung. Okay, I thought so. No, I couldn't blame Streamlabs for once. They can't be the bad guy all the time. I think it was probably the update. I'm not sure what it is yet. It might take a bit. Because there's like inside of Streamlabs, there's like this accelerator algorithm that can tap into the second processor chip in my machine and stuff, and maybe that shit. Like, it'll take some time. It'll take some time. Unfortunately, it's probably not as simple as just going in and clicking a button. XOXA. How do I say this? Zoza? Let's do this. This one's called Lie. Hey, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Is this, can someone click on this really quick and see if it's a DMCA concern? Or is this all original work in progress or what? I'm just seeing official lyric video and... Original work, okay.
Whoa, keep it up, Gavin.
Hey, Ross, sauce it up.
Ooh, yeah. No, not again. You broke my heart and I'll never love again. And girl, I know what I said. Where would we be if we loved instead? Oh, all I did was treat you right, but you just had to go and lie. How could you still even look in my eyes? Tell me, why did you do it? Why?
I just wanna love again. I just wanna open up without feeling stab again. I need me a double cup, 21, pour it up. He's got in my DM, not a nigga wanna square it up. I just post another bitch, now my phone is blowing up. I go to love, but I have my heart head away. Give everyone a picture of my book till I fade away. Seems like I only bring pain and heartache. No, no, not again. Broke my heart and I never love again. No, no. I'll never love again. I will never love again.
Ooh, yeah. No, not again. You broke my heart and I'll never love again. And girl, I know what I said. Where would we be if we loved instead? Oh, all I did was treat you right, but you just had to go and lie. How could you still even look in my eyes? Tell me, why did you do it? Why?
This is solid. This is great. I love the playful nature, like in the beginning. Love the little sample of the kiddo in there. I think it's brilliant work on the vocals. You're really hitting a sweet spot, especially for the genre. I take the 808 down just a touch, and I would curb the frequencies around 24 hertz, and I would do it on like a 34, or I mean a 36 per dB cut, something like this. If you don't already have it set up, it might be somewhere between like 23 and 26 is probably going to be the sweet spot for that one. But if you don't already have that, you're going to feel... What's up, Will? Thank you for bringing the Gazelle with you. Appreciate you, homie. 14 months! But really years more, so... But yeah, if you don't already have that cut in place, you should feel and hear a significant boost in bass presence when you do that. And then after you do that, bring it down like 2 dB maybe, something like that. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, backing vocals around 130. I think it could be moved to the side just a couple of steps, just a couple of cents. You know, like if this is your pan here, I'd like maybe set it maybe like 5 to one side. Make sure you're still in a stereo mode and not you know, so it's not, what am I trying to say here? In balance mode, right? So it's not cutting out one side. Anything else on my notes for you? No, that's it. That's it. Watch loudness. Watch loudness. I think this is a really good mix. Keep watching loudness. I think that's part of what makes this feel so good, is that everything is in really good balance. So nice work there. Absolutely. It's being noticed. You could always blame Streamlabs. Well, I mean, we could blame Comcast, maybe. I don't know. Trem wants to hear just a slight boot on the highs and the vocals. You know, Zev just subscribed with Twitch Prime. You can subscribe with Twitch Prime too. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you get a free Twitch subscription every single month. So if you don't want to pay $5 a month for your awesome sound design training and feedback and stuff like that, then don't, and let what's his face do it for you. We don't say his name very much here. Cheers, Jeff. Caro, thank you as well for the sub. You guys don't forget to go grab your free sound pack of the month. Every month, subscribers get a free sound pack. You download it from, excuse me, the Discord in the subscriber rewards channel. Where is that? Where did the subscriber rewards channel go? Oh, there it is. Did somebody create categories here, or did Discord do that? Interesting. Anyway, so it looks like subscribers stuff moved. Anyway, we got subscriber rewards channel every single month. If you're subscribed on Twitch, you come over here to Discord, you link your profiles between Discord and Twitch, and you will be granted access to the subscriber rewards channel. Every month you find your free sound pack in there, and whatever you are inspired to make with said sounds, you come back and you submit them here for our monthly community challenge. It's just a fun challenge amongst friends. Everyone who participates gets another free sound pack. At the end of the month, we listen to all of the entries together, and we vote, and we pick our favorite. And the winner has a chance to come on the show, meet people. Anyway. Oh, I'm just reading. Zev makes the gazelle scream. Osford launchpadding. Yo, how are you? Will says, everybody subscribe. It's cool and fun. Caro, Damien. Damien hasn't been streaming lately, but he has been active over at Complete Producer. I believe he's still doing accelerator courses with some folks over there. I think he's been too busy for the streaming. I need to catch up with him. Drum ties. Well, now it's categorized for you. Blackberry says, I visit the Complete Producer Network every day or so, but haven't posted much lately, mostly because the topics I would typically respond to would mean writing an essay. Instead, I've just been responding to those 3 questions on stream. That's a good way to do it. Saf, there you go. Will says, OhmLab, I know I just popped in, but I got a bounce in 25, posted a recent little thing I'm working on. Can I ask to go soon? Yeah. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Hi, all, by the way, says Blackberry. Hey, Caro, how did the Beats Accelerator course work out for you? Yeah, he is a very talented individual. Absolutely. Oh man, more people are popping in. We're going to close the feedback queue. Oops. Okay, so no more entries in, and we're gonna let Will cut in line here because he's gonna bounce here just really quick. Whoop. Giving you a new name. And that'll give us a little bit of time to talk building your portfolios successfully before we bounce today. Sensei Woogie, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. Welcome in. Happy Friday. We're listening to a new work in progress from Zev. If you're not following him, do so. He's a beast. He's been killing it lately. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be a good weekend project for you, homie. I feel like it's missing the normal Zev oddities and acid up to whatever point that stuff starts to come in. Um, and I'm kind of split on whether I think that it was missing and I want some, or if it's missing and I just want a little bit more when they come in, because I was missing them. I'm not sure. 122. I like the play with the vocal synth sample. I think it'd be cool to gate it in a variety of different ways. It's a cool groove. But I think it'd be cool if it like changed up and evolved a little bit as it went. I think you could probably play with the basic volume ADSR, you know, like play with the attack and the decay and the release mostly, just to kind of get a little bit more variety in the delivery of that groove. Right? If you get like a dun 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 bum bum bum, you know what I mean? Just a couple little twists and turns. Super tasty transition at 240. Although I feel like it kind of misses some low end fullness. Maybe the bass gets built up. Actually, I think that bass would do well with some rift, some minimal rift. Just something that's moving with both filter modulation and maybe a little bit of delay in there. I think it'd feel really nice, especially with all the gating that's been happening in this. And then I think some kind of top line interest as well. An ARP would do well, put it against that noise synth. I think something kind of dreamy and the breakdown would be good. Something moving. Not necessarily high energy, but higher register. Yeah, trim ties. That's a good idea. You could sell shout outs at your gigs, $5 a word. That's funny. On CPN, someone asked about headphones. I did almost 3-hour stream on hearing and why headphones are so unique to every individual and why speakers are more universal in subjective assessment than headphones. Boom! BlackBerry. There's some deepness right there. Indremia, no, you're not glitching out. Well, I mean, you might be, but the sound crackling is probably the same sound crackling that everyone else is hearing. Tremtai says, it's weird hearing Zev stuff without the Zev magic. I know it's a WIP, but I'm so used to the whole organic sound design in your sound. Yeah, this is the structure period. Yeah. Now stuff gets carved. Debating keeping it simple and doing a pluck melody versus a whole chord progression. Yeah, I think a pluck medley, like an ARP or something, would be cool. And you know, just plot out a basic progression, and then hit random on the Logic ARP. Set it to like a complexity of 2, and switch it to inversion. Like add an octave into inversion. And see what you get. You'll probably get some pretty nice stuff. Yeah, super chill vibe for a little outro. Or just go full-blown cinematic craziness. Well, you could. I mean, you could build it up to that and then just have the bottom fall out of it completely and drop down to like just the dreamy ARP stuff and bass, and that's it. And just let the soup that you build up with like some rift and maybe, oh, you know what would be nice as a combo of rift on that bass and then Valhalla Shimmer on the ARP. with just a super, super small amount of feedback, right, to get that kind of steady grain sound going. And then when you drop the floor out of like some big old massive wild crescendo kind of thing, like arms up in the air, and then like slowly peace out over the next 3 minutes or something. All right. Sine vibe, stutter effects. Yeah. Inspiration's flowing. All right, cool. All coming together, Millhouse. All right, Trem Ties is up next. Thank you for sitting tight. Says, okay, as I've mentioned, I've posted this before, but the lows were way too hot in the mix and it was missing some mids, so the levels are way better now and the sounds communicate better in my opinion. But now, what do I do with the low end? It sounds like it's missing, but when I try to pump up some low end, it immediately starts getting mushy and peaks at weird frequencies in the lows and mids, especially at the 3-minute mark. The rolling bass is getting drowned a bit. I removed some lows from the kicks, which helped, but I still want it more present. All right, here we go. Goth Normie Styles Music. Thanks for coming in. Happy Friday. Okay, Tremtides, this is solid. I think this song itself is solid. I like the arrangement. Like, this is classic Tremtides here. The mix, I think what happened is you started with the wrong bass. And then the bass got bloated. And then the reaction to that was to cut away pretty aggressively stuff in the low end, but I think it left everything feeling really anemic, which is why you're feeling like it's missing a lot of the bass element, right? So I suggest this. Start a couple new alternate projects, right? And the very first thing you do is keep everything in the mix exactly the same, and you put a different bass in there, a different kick, and a different snare. I think the kick and snare need more, just more balls, for lack of a better term. And I think that you need a bass that is well defined, not like in like type of character or genre, but like the edges of it are well defined. It can be nimble, it can articulate well, and it's also fairly full. I think that's what this needs. And I think that the kick and the snare need to really drive the energy of this whole thing. I think that's the other piece that's kind of lacking, and that absolutely rings like in our brains as part of the low end in a track like this, because you know they're working cooperatively, the bass and the kick and the snare, and they're setting up this very structured pattern that the whole thing is built on. So I think that's where I would steer you in this point, or at this point. Having heard this with the bloated low end and now with the kind of anemic profile that it's got now, I think that's the best way to approach this. The only other thing is I think more definition in that vocal, and I think that might, it feels like maybe some multiband compression would help with that. If you want it to be not quite fully defined, then you could even go fairly aggressive with something like OTT, and just really focus on the mids. No downward compression in it, really, just upward. But yeah, those are my feelings about this one. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see what these other guys are saying here. Goth Normie, welcome in. Styles Music Records, New Zealand, welcome in. How you doing? All right, cool. Corserine. Sorry if I'm not saying that correctly. This one is called Strange Chords. The mix. We're looking at the mix on this one, I think. Trentize, you are welcome. Hope it helps, Omi. Apologies for those Streamlabs crackles. Watch those luffs. All right, so watch the LUFs. Really nice vibe, very cool, full sound, more separation for the vocals. It's going to be hard to provide like really critical feedback on the mix because stuff was being squished together and kind of pumped up a lot. If you were to back off all of the maximization from that limiter, we'd be able to kind of assess a whole bunch more, because right now there's things that sound kind of overdriven, which is probably just the limiter, and stuff that's kind of squished, like kind of pumped up too much on the sides, which is probably just the limiter. A little competition in the middle amongst a few different layers, which is probably the limiter again. So I'd say the big thing to attend to here, and maybe this is part of the limiting as well. Maybe this has been squished together too much as well, but it feels like the vocals need more separation. Maybe that's not true. So definitely get the compression stuff figured out, the limiting stuff eliminated, and then listen to it. And if you feel like the vocals really do sit on top of everything and you can hear them really clearly without any like obfuscation, then move forward. I think they still need to sit a bit more on top. If you are, some of the processes that you've got on your vocals need to stay in series, right? They need to stay like on the vocal channel itself. Some of the processes could be parallel though, right? So like the saturation and stuff, that could stay on the track. Then try doing parallel processing for your delay and your reverb, and then see how that works out, right? Because you can mix that stuff in back to taste rather than it being omnipresent on the entirety of the vocals all of the time. And that then kind of protects the original integrity and definition of the vocals, and then you can bring up the effects level to the point where you really want them to be. Do that, and then I would say bring it back and see what this all sounds like with those two things attended to. And I bet we're pretty close to a finished mix at that point. It sounded pretty good. I went to the chord shop and bought some jazz chords. Smooth. I like this one, Kara. I do. Squished it. This track was 6 foot tall and now it's 3 inches. It sounded okay, pre-limiting. Yeah, so then just undo it and listen to it again. Because it very well could be, it's tough. It's tough when you take something really, really well balanced and really well mixed and then squish it. It's tough to suss out stuff. It's just how it is. All right, unknown. All right, here we go. This one is called 173 version 5. Woo, that's hot. Kwame! All right, LUFs. You got to take them seriously. This is way too hot. It's just too loud. And then when the streaming service takes it down, it just doesn't sound the same anymore. It just doesn't sound the same. You should totally be in control of how your stuff sounds all the time. The subs are a bit hot too, and this is something that can be tough, especially if you're working in like in a home studio and you don't have a really solid way to monitor those things, I really recommend always keeping meters open on your stuff while you work. And then that way, as stuff is playing back, you can see quite clearly if there's low-end frequency presence. Let's say you've got a bunch of stuff popping off up over here like this, and then you've got the sub frequency range over here, and it's peaking. That's going to trigger all of your plugins incorrectly. You're going to be responding to the wrong things as you're mixing this, like as a master at the end of the day. So that's one thing, is just wrangling the subs, wrangling the LUFs, and then revisit. The sound design work is good. I would really recommend a little bit more variety in your modulation of your main synth, because it's very much the same kind of delivery again and again and again, and you can alter that very, very easily, actually, without going in and making any adjustments to any of those modulation assignments. You just start adding secondary and tertiary LFOs is really all you have to do. So one could be, you know, an LFO running at a 2-bar clip. It's a sine wave. Its depth is on like maybe 30%, and it's assigned to the FM morphing in serum, or the wavetable position, or the distortion. Right, so that way there's just like this slight difference in parameter setting that's fully removed from all of your modulation assignments that are shaping your sound and delivering your sound, right? Your second LFO could be something much longer, like an unsynced 8-bar LFO. And maybe this one is running on wavetable and filter cutoff, and maybe resonance or something like that. So now all of a sudden, and you're going in opposite directions with the resonance and cutoff, right? So you're really kind of getting a little squelchy up high, and you're reducing resonance down low. And that right there is the last thing, is if you've got resonance on your filter modulation and that is running on a bass and you're bringing your cutoff down, what you're doing is you're bloating frequencies that you shouldn't be, because you're going farther down in the frequency range, and resonance is just it's just an amplitude peak at a specific frequency point, right? And cutoff is moving that frequency point. So now you're getting down into these lower frequencies that can cause muddiness and slowness and whatnot in your mix. So anyway, wrangle the lows, cut the lowest subfrequencies of your top bass layer, add a couple more modulation assignments in your synth. It sounds like maybe you're using Serum. This would be a very, very easy fix for you. And then bake that into your workflows, bake that into your routine, because the more variety and movement and modulation you get in those types of sounds, the more happy accidents you're going to find, the more potential you're going to explore in your sounds overall. So that's what I got for you on this one. Blackberry, take care, homie. Villain 9, yo, how are you? Welcome in. Happy Friday. We have just closed the feedback queue, you guys. We're listening to Kwame. Villain 9, I'm going to have to get you feedback outside the stream, because I promised these guys, we're going to talk about how to build a portfolio properly and actually start making moves in a marketplace and make some money from all your efforts. So we're going to move to that after this track from Kwame here. Kwame, how are you? How are the piano lessons, homie? Away we go. Apologies for crackles. Okay, Kwame, I think we've reached that next point. Man, you've been leveling up so consistently for so long now. This is really good. I'm loving the nice little touches on that beat, like that tiny little stick, that tiny little tap on the clave. It's really, really nice stuff. Or maybe it's a block. EQ the lows in your reverb just a touch more, perhaps, at 33 seconds. A little more separation overall. So here's the next thing. We've worked on so many like specific little things in chunks. So here's your next big chunk assignment, okay? It's going to be two-part, and they both involve one another. It's going to be stereo spectrum, okay? The entire making use of the entire stereo spectrum properly for the type of music that you're going for and the type of effect that you want to have with your placements. And then the other thing is volume levels. And a lot of this will actually be, well, your panning can be set up fairly static for the most part while you're actually placing your sounds. So as you're bringing in your sounds, you're setting the volume level, you're setting your pan position, and you're moving on. Something we're going to try right now is to give each thing its own specific position in the stereo field. So nothing is actually in the exact same place, except for those things running right down the center, okay? And then the next big thing is moving things up and down in volume as your arrangement is progressing. So I'm going to play back a couple little spots here, and we're going to point out just a couple of times when volume levels could change. And in your mind, when we're talking through those moments, try and picture your music as a live ensemble playing on stage, right? So when does the bassist take a step up when he's more audible, and when does he actually take a step back on stage when he's becoming a little bit more supportive while another instrument, you know, has a little bit of time in the spotlight? So here we go. So right here, hey, who's Napalm? Welcome in. Right, exactly. The bass should be louder there, right? And now again. Okay, so right here now, we've got, oh, it's not stopping. Okay, I'll just mute it for a second. Right here, now all of a sudden you've got a few different competing things, right? Your bass is almost at the same level as the keys and the guitar, and now there's a second string here. Or maybe it's just a pluck. But regardless, part of it is that the sounds are close to each other in stereo position, and then the bigger one, is that they're close to each other in volume level. Now, those two things become even more complicated when they're a similar sound type, and they don't need to be, I'm not saying that, you know, like strings and keys and woodwinds are similar sound types, but the intention of their operation and the arrangement is, right? So therefore they are occupying much of the same frequency space. So then it becomes even more important to do proper, like really good EQ work and stereo placement, right? Position placement, narrowing the stereo width of your players can also help. So I'll just show you really quick what I mean by that. In many DAWs, you can, I'll just switch to the mixer mode here. So many DAWs will give you an option for a stereo pan, and then you can control the width, the stereo width of that, like this. So some of those sounds, you know, they could be moved over to one side, you know, like this. Now they're really not touching anything on the other side. So, you know, just finding some way. You don't want to throttle it. You don't ever want to get it to the point, because your music needs to breathe, right? You want to make sure that your stuff is still, you know, given an opportunity to breathe and have a life force. But you do want to contain stuff in the mix too. So that's your next mission, is to find really good workflows and habits with stereo position for each sound, and volume mix for each of your elements as the arrangement is going. So as soon as you have your arrangement set and you're happy with it, you hit save, you go into your automation lanes, and you start to make volume changes, right? So you're kind of taking full control over the prioritization of your sounds. That all make sense? Bass should come down in the chorus and guitar shine more. Yeah, exactly. But the other players as well, right? Now you can also, thank you, homie. I appreciate you and the gazelle. You can also move things closer to center when they're beginning to solo, right? So let's just say that that guitar at that moment, you're talking like in the chorus there. Let's say that the guitar has been sitting like 20 cents out to the right this whole time, right, in your mix. So maybe when it's time for it to come up in volume and presence, we move it to more like 10. So it's like half the distance to the center. Everything in the center is still in the center. This one just came closer. It's akin to that person stepping forward on stage, right? Being more upright, more present, 2 steps forward, a little twist on the volume knob, and you're good. But at the same time that that person is doing that, right, twisting up their volume knob and stepping forward, the other guys can step back just a little bit, maybe a little bit further out to the side and down in volume just a touch. And then it just helps everything focus. I think you can move on to just the mixing at this point. I think so. And I think that a lot of these songs at this point, like, you're probably going to feel like a lot of this is just lesson work and these things are like toss away things. I would really highly encourage you to start putting together some sort of a portfolio for these things, because all of this stuff has value to someone at this point now. It's all really starting to sound pretty darn solid. So. Okay, as promised, we're going to talk for a bit about how to actually make a wave in a marketplace, like how to step in to a new marketplace with a portfolio, like how to build a portfolio responsibly, how to get followers during that process, what are the best rules of thumb to follow, what are some best practices. So, bless you, Kwame. Big love, homie. Can I chat with you privately about some record label stuff been hearing about some time? Do you have private time available? Yeah, why don't you shoot me a DM and we can work out a time. Absolutely. Happy to help you. Okay. So people that have been in, you know, the classroom or like private sessions with me have heard a fair bit of this before, but I know, you know, Javar, you're looking to start up a portfolio. Saf, you just got your first sale from your first portfolio. subvids. I know you're interested in getting stuff out there. Here's like a super quick breakdown of the best things that you could possibly do for yourself in preparation for this. The very first thing is to start shopping around and looking at marketplaces. Maybe what you're going to do is check out 1 or 2 a day, but only for a brief amount of time. You're going to spend the majority of your time right now just focusing on production. And part of it is just to get into this routine of completing things. You got to bounce stuff. Okay. And if you're someone that is going to upload both tracks and sounds, like you want to both sell sound effects and sound design and, you know, maybe like little intros or outros for podcasts, or maybe audio logos for corporate branding, or, you know, pew, 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 some lasers for some video games or whatever it be, right? Some creature sounds. So if you're doing both, if you're doing music and sound, then the best thing you could be doing for yourself is working on both of those things. And as you're working on your music and you have ideas for individual sounds to spin out, you just do it right there in the moment instead of telling yourself you're going to do it later, right? Just bounce it into a WIP folder, right? And then get into the routine of going back into that WIP folder daily, right? And harvesting your sounds from it. So the very first thing you got to do for yourself is set up this routine where you have dedicated, established time for production, and that you're focusing on the follow through of those little sounds, those small ideas you have while you're working. Just get them done in the moment. At the end of the day, go into that work in progress folder and finish that sound. Put an EQ on it, get it up to the level that it needs to be, put it into space for a couple of variations, right? And bounce those guys. You're not going to upload them right now. None of these things. If you are just producing music and nothing else, let's aim for like 24 tracks minimum, right? And these don't need to be full tracks. These could be theme ideas, right? So these could be like little 30-second trailer pieces, or they could be 5-minute epics, right? If you're doing just sounds, you're going to produce until you have at least 30 products. And by products, I mean things that you would consider individual downloads. So that could be a single sound. If you think one sound stands on its own and it's worthy of being purchased for $1 or whatever, then that counts as one. Oftentimes you'll have several sounds packaged together in a little bundle, like 5 variations of one sound type or something like that. That would be one product. Okay, so if you are doing music and sounds, aim for like 30. Aim for like 30 total products. So once you have that all done, you're going to go through, you're going to make sure that you have a name that works for each thing. It can't be fully unique all the time. It can't be a song like Beautiful Sunshine and Rainbows every time you write a song, right? There's got to be something in that title for most of the products that you upload. You got to think of them as products. Most of the things that you upload, you want to have something in the title that relates to how the person is going to find that thing, right? What is someone going to type into search that's ultimately going to pull up this track, right? That's one of the very first like important pieces to being discovered. Okay, so number 2, you're going to write up a description for every single one of these things. And the reason why you're going to do it all at once after you've got a whole bunch of stuff done is because you now need to work on the voice of you, of your brand, and it needs to be consistent across everything that you put up. So don't do it one at a time, piecemeal, and upload one thing every day or whatever. Get everything put together, get a solid, well-defined, unified voice. You're going to get yourself a logo, right? Maybe you're good with Photoshop. Maybe you have happy accidents sometimes and you've created something that you like. Maybe you're going to spend $5 on Fiverr and you're going to ask someone to make something for you, right? It doesn't matter. Just get it done. Get a logo. So you've got descriptions. You've got a good title. Now comes keywords. And some of you may have heard Saffron and I talking about this earlier. You got to have a document which is tracking all the keywords that you're using, because keywords and a well-written description and a well-thought-out name, title of your product those are the biggest keys to people finding your content. It truly is, because the way that the entire internet works is because of metadata, right? And these are the only fine point metadata that you have control over. So description, keywords, and title. And then the other reason why you're like holding on to all of this stuff in a little war chest is because now what you're going to do is start committing to a regular routine upload schedule. At the same exact time, every single day in that marketplace, you're going to upload one product. And you don't upload them all at once. If you upload them all at once, you've just wasted a huge opportunity. And that is the front page. In most marketplaces, when you upload a new product and it is accepted to their marketplace, it lands on the front page in the new releases area, right? Some marketplaces might even have a separate queue for new authors or new creators, right? So now you're in 2 queues on the home page. That quickly disappears. Those are ephemeral placements. So you're going to get on the front page, and then as the day goes on and other products are introduced as they're getting through their upload queue that day, as new products are ingested, yours moves down the screen and then ultimately disappears. And the reason why that period of time is so important for your survival, your success, your sustainability in the marketplace is because that's really the only way for people to find you. Okay? If you had some crazy established community that was buying all of your stuff, you wouldn't be doing this. Right? And if you put stuff up in a marketplace and you just simply share the link to that stuff with your friends on Facebook, that's not going to do anything for you either. They're not the people that are going to be buying your stuff, right? So you got to be really smart about this and very realistic about it, right? So you enter a marketplace, you get on the homepage every single day at the same time. You have no control over what time that actually is that it lands, because the queue is going to move at different paces every single day. It's going to have a different number of files in it. Sometimes you're going to wait several days for your stuff to go live. Sometimes you're going to wait 1 day. You're not going to have any control over that. What you do have control over is having something in the queue every single day. So when that moment does come around, you go live. Okay? So that's the very first thing. And as people start to see you more and more, you become more validated, right? As a presence in this place. You are showing up every day. You are committed. You are on this page every single time I log in. I'm going to follow you. So now I am made aware. I receive a notification. There's a separate queue in a lot of marketplaces for people that you follow, for the creators that you're interested in. And that's your goal, right? You want to increase your following. And until you start to get actual sales, everything is a guessing game, and you cannot sweat it. You have no control over it. You must just stay committed to producing, and that is all. Your goal every single day is to improve upon what you're building and try to ignore what everyone else there is doing. Over 75% of everyone in that entire marketplace is actively trying to recreate what the best sellers are doing, what the best, most popular, successful creators are doing. They're trying to mimic the tracks and the sounds that are the best sellers. That will fail for you. Every single time it will fail for you, because there's so much overproduction in that space. That thing is already on its decline. Like, it had its meme-tastic moment in the sun, and you are not going to meet it there. Right? Even if you do have success with a sound like that, it's probably going to be lesser success, and it's going to be on the downward slope of a trend. So just don't try it. It's so much better for you to focus on your own sound. So if you're producing every day and you're putting stuff into your queue every single day, you're going to get better and you're going to get faster, right? As you do that, all of this becomes less of a burden. And as soon as you start to feel that, you open up another portfolio in another marketplace. Right? These do not have to be exclusive relationships, and you can diversify your investment in yourself. And then the other big thing while you're doing this is you need to kind of shift your mindset. If you don't shift your mindset early, this doesn't play out well for you, because you have the wrong price value perception equation happening in your mind. every single day. And it starts to become something that it's like a cancer. It like slowly eats away at you. And while it's doing that, it's slowly eating away at your content as well. So here's the shift that you have to make. You're not trying to sell that product. What you're wanting to do is get a really good hourly rate for the time that you spent making that sound or that song. That's it. That's it. And in the end, and you should have complete supreme confidence that in the end, your hourly rate for those things is going to be good. As long as you're putting keywords on it, as long as you're, making the stuff that is accessing your full interest and passion and engagement, it's going to improve, and people will use your stuff. When you first put up that laser sound, pew, 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 and you sell it for $1, you're in a new marketplace, regardless of what kind of agreement you have, the most you're going to get of that is 50%. And that's before taxes. So you just made 50 cents, and maybe you waited like 3 months for someone to find that laser if you didn't follow this plan of like having stuff uploading every single day or whatever. And that's going to feel both great and awful at the same time, because it's great that someone liked your stuff enough to use it in their video game or their movie or whatever, and you're really jazzed about that. And you're also you're feeling very deflated that it took a few months and that you're getting 50 cents for that hard work. 8 months go by, and now you've sold that one laser 42 times in that marketplace. And not every single one was a personal license. So not every single one of those sales was $1. Some of them were a couple steps up. There was one that was sold for $5 and 2 of them that were sold for $15. But there was one in there that sold for like $88. It was a broadcast license. It's the biggest one that you've sold so far. So at the end of your first 8 months of that laser sound, you have now made like a whopping $100, okay, in sales, which translates to about $50 for you, okay? Your mindset, I feel pretty strongly about this. Your mindset shouldn't be that you just made $50 off that sound. What it should be is a running tally of the increase of your hourly wage for that time spent. And it's pretty easy to make a laser sound. It probably only took you a matter of minutes, if that. And you're making a really good hourly wage. Now, in that 8 months, you have also adhered to the plan of staying productive and uploading stuff daily. And you now have 8 months worth of items up there. You've got like 200 or more items in your portfolio. Now, if that one item has sold a total of 42 times, right? Then how many times have the other things sold for? And if you're selling things, let's say we're just sticking with sounds for a second, that one laser was $1. Well, you've probably got other similar sounds. Why not put 10 or 12 of them in a pack together and sell that pack for like $5? It's a huge savings for your shoppers, and it increases your average checkout significantly, right? By incorporating bundles into the mix. So now you're not just putting up new sounds, you're finding different ways to package pre-existing products in your store, in your market, and bundling them together. And now what you're doing is you're messing with the price value perception equation in the shopper's mind, right? You're putting them in control, and you're creating more value opportunities for them. They will always come out ahead in their price value perception equation, right? Yours is quite different. You are very focused on increasing those numbers month to month, year to year, but it's across the entire spectrum of your efforts. It's not just that one bundle or that one file, right? Think about this. It's a massive mind shift to say, okay, I was going to sell that one sound for $5 or for $1 and get 50 cents. Now I'm going to sell these 10 sounds for $5, and I'm going to get $2.50 for 10 sounds. Now, at first, that's going to sound kind of like this bad decision. But when you think about it, you've done no more work. Those sounds are already selling, right? And now you're just repackaging them in a way that's going to create value, right? And value and satisfaction equals return customer, right? This is good relationship management. So, you're just kind of massaging more money, more potential out of work that you did months ago, right? And now the math starts to get a little complex here, because now you're looking at the hourly input for that one laser increase with each sale of that laser, but also with each sale of that bundle. And now that you've hit your groove, you also started uploading to these other few marketplaces. So now that laser sound is selling in these other places, right? And maybe you've got a couple of bundles in those places too. And everything starts to come up. Everything starts to come up. 10 years down the road, that laser that started it all, that was your first $1 sale, has made like maybe $1,000 or something, right? And you have kind of cracked the code of how to stay productive and get these small transactions made regularly. You've created trust and you've created loyalty with your shoppers, with your customers. And you've established yourself in a community. Like, it's not just a marketplace at that point in time, right? You've been there so long that people feel some sort of a relationship to you. They've followed you for some time. And those numbers don't really start to come back down from that point, right? You've earned the right at that point to start moving into subscription models, which gets you much more regular and steady payout, like pretty predictable payout, actually. So this thing is, it's a doable thing. You just have to put one foot in front of the other, stay focused, stay committed, and be really genuinely honest with yourself and not put stuff in such a negative light. Frame stuff in hourly wages for yourself, right? It's going to make all of this seem so much more, understood and accessible. You know what I mean? Right? Hey, Aaron's here, you guys. Raid Zero, what's up, dude? How are you? All right, let's read through what people are saying here. Saf says, I think having a niche for the type of sound design you want to work on is probably the most beneficial way you can present yourself in front of clients. Absolutely. And yes, SEO principles are key, Kwame. And you don't necessarily have control over certain levels of SEO that you would have, say, on your own website, but you can tap into some of it. Like, for instance, going the extra mile and creating an image for each product and then naming that file, whatever your highest ranking keyword is, right? Plus the name of the track, right? So you're now kind of using a little bit of trickery, because that file has now been uploaded to that marketplace's server, right? And it has very good ranking in the SEO sphere, as it were, for the industry. Right? You could even put your name in there. There's so many tiny little things that you can do. Don't waste your time putting your artist name or your brand name into the keywords. It's a waste of a keyword. You're going to get like 30 keywords max. There are some places that might offer like 60 keywords, but it's kind of a pitfall. It's a trap SEO wise. It might seem like, oh, you're going to get a leg up over the competition by putting in a whole bunch more words. So you might find it a little bit easier with their local search tool, but it probably will lead to less organic results through Google or whatnot too. So it kind of depends on how you expect to gain most of your traffic. But I digress a bit. The main important thing is to stay focused on really high quality words, that are going to lead people to you and think like the average person typing in Google. And the way that you can do that is a great little hack. Let's type in, cinematic impact. Okay, it's a very, very simple term. You come down here to these suggested searches. These are actually things that other people are searching. And that's why these look so weird or highly specific sometimes. So the more specific your search becomes, cinematic impact, royalty free. Now we're going to come down here and take a look. Cinematic strikes, cinematic sound effects, trailer sound effects. It's just going to start giving you some more words, right? So trailer is a good one. The other good way to start thinking about the types of words that people might be using is to actually go into a marketplace and just look at a file. So let's just look at some music really quick. And it can be any song. We're just going to click into the first one we see here. These are the tags that this person has used, right? And you can see just how many times this thing is sold. It's sold 6 times so far. It was released in June of 2017, and they're running it on sale for $8 instead of $20. And you know what all of that tells me? That either this music isn't that great or these tags are not the right tags. These are not the kind of words that people are using. Now, this is at the top of the search results here. So let's just listen.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Okay, it's a little loud and overdriven. Like, I get why maybe people don't go for it because it doesn't have the dynamic, like the supportive dynamic range that people would probably want for their film. But these are probably not the right words for what people were expecting compared to what they actually ended up with. That's probably why they've seen only 6 sales in 5 years, or coming up on 5 years anyway. So you can learn a lot from other people's stuff. Don't try to mimic their sound, but do try to analyze what might be happening with their sales and their keywords and stuff, right? If someone is brand new to a marketplace and they've just started uploading things and they already have like 100 sales, then their keywords and their description are probably pretty tight because they don't have a big following yet. So how are people finding them? It's probably through their keywords and their well-written descriptions. So hopefully all of that makes sense and is digestible. If you guys got questions, fire away. I'm going to read some of the stuff in chat here. Seth says, if you want to work on fantasy, make portfolio for just fantasy, find a niche and stick with it. That is correct. You can also create multiple portfolios as an individual in a lot of these marketplaces, right? Like I could go into Audio Jungle, I could create 12 different profiles, and one of them can be just fantasy, and one of them could be just magic sounds, and another one could be just field recordings, right? And so on and so forth. And if you have a niche, people are more likely to come back to you. They really are. And Dremia says, seems everyone is uploading stuff today. How do you compete with the hundreds of others, especially with those that have been pushing products for many years? How unique should one be? Being a complete outsider seems counterproductive to discoverability. So, and Cardio says, I try to view it more as how much of my soul do I want to sell? And I would say, I love both of you, but both of these things feel very defeating. They feel very defeating. And I know that you guys have wanted to break through in that space for some time. And if you're feeling defeated before you even start, then it's never going to work, number one. How do you compete? By being present, and that's it. You know, in Dremia, if you had just as many game sounds, for instance, as you do tracks, you could start this today, right now, in 2 different portfolios and just kind of test the waters, one being music and one being sound effects, and seeing which one you could excel in the quickest. But you have enough content to be uploading somewhere every single day. So if you were to just start doing that right there, knowing that you have the content, you are already beating 95% of everybody in that marketplace, because only 5% of the folks are uploading every single day. Right? And you know that because you see the same people doing it and you can recognize them. And there's only a handful of them doing it. Right? There's like maybe 10 people in each one of these marketplaces that's on that front cover every single day. And then it's a bunch of random folks, right? So you could be one of those people, and that's instant. That's something that happens the day after you begin, because the first day was just one time, but the second day is 2 times in a row. The third one is 3 times in a row. And those that don't have this workflow can't keep up with that. So it's really about presence. It's really about presence. It's just like any other industry. 9 out of 10 people do not show up. In today's world, if you show up to drop off your resume instead of emailing it, they're going to know that you're real, that you're a person. You're obviously going to be the one that they think of in regards to applicants in that pool, right? So that's one way that you can compete. The other thing is just really focusing on quality, and just try to be really intelligent about the words that you're using to describe your stuff and to put in as keywords. And those are the hardest things for everyone else to crack, because they just simply don't have that same level of commitment to being found. What they're doing is something entirely different. It's just a completely different way of approaching all of it. And you're really not selling anything. I'm sorry, you're really not losing anything. Okay, the very first sale that you make, if you've made no sales to this point, the very first sale that you've made in any marketplace, even if you're only getting 50% of it, is beneficial, because it's doing something that you've been believing isn't really possible or is for other people or whatever. And as soon as you start to break that barrier, things start to change. They really do. They really, really, truly do. Seth says, find a niche that works for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you do want to find a niche that works really well that people can go to you. Yeah. When bills have to be paid, the soul seems less important. So what is it about the soul that's harmed in making that sale? I'm just kind of curious, because I used to feel this before I found more success. And I've seen it consistently in the thousands of people that I've trained over the years. I've seen this consistently. So I am now a true believer that until you start making the money, there is this hardwired belief that you're having to sacrifice something to make that money. But I want to know, as someone who's come through on the other side of this now, and I've become too far removed from those feelings. I remember them. I still relate to them. It's not like I've forgotten them. It's just that I've been removed from them so long now, and I've had this conversation so many times that I'm much more willing to challenge people on this. And no one was willing to challenge me on this when I was young. So I want to provide that for people. Like, what exactly is broken in your soul when you make a sale of a song? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be able to do this more. Right? I think it so very much stems from fear and insecurity and an ignorance of how the things are actually going to work when you're actually doing it. And not, I don't mean ignorant to be like a personal slam. It's just like a lack of understanding about something specific that you haven't been through yet. That's all. Right? And we don't know what we don't know yet. And it does seem like a lot of work to like create a portfolio or whatever. But you know what? If you post to a social page, you're doing the same thing. You type text into a text field and you click submit. It's basically the same thing. You've already created all of the sounds. You just need to go somewhere and upload and type in the words to make it found. And that's it. And then wait to find out if it was approved. You know what I mean? And that's it. If you go someplace and you know your stuff is good and you get 2 rejections, just go to a different place, right? Every place has their own niche of like the type of clientele that they're serving to, and the expectations that the clients have need to be served by the marketplace, right? So if all you make is sci-fi and sci-fi is continually getting rejected by this marketplace that sells like 95% like inspirational corporate music, then don't take your sci-fi stuff there anymore. You know, take it to a marketplace that really excels with sci-fi stuff, and go find your people. Yeah. Yeah, in Dremia, I would say that your niche is yours. I think there's probably miscommunication there with Saf. I think that you are wholly unique. And I know I've said this many times, but you've got the graphics, you've got the backstory, you've got an established character, you've got a destination where people can watch you work live. You have enough content that you could have a 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube collecting money just from people listening to your stuff, right? You've got your own streaming cafe. Aaron, of course, but you know what? Drop the link. I'm sorry, I'm probably getting to this really late because I'm slowly making my way through the chat. The stream is about to end, and you should put it in the Discord. I would normally extend the length of this for you because I love you, but I got to go take my kid to go get a second COVID shot, so I can't today. So please drop it in the Discord so other people can hear it and we can chime in outside the stream. Dremia says, OhmLab, I really appreciate everything you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. The problem is getting that first sale. And how do you gain visibility in a flooded market? I suppose all markets are flooded. So how do you set yourself aside in a space where hundreds, thousands, if not millions are swimming around? By doing exactly what I just said. And your point just reinforces my approach. So stop and think about this. In a marketplace with tens of thousands of existing creators, established professionals, 6 of them are uploading every single day. Now, what does that tell you about your odds in regards to standing out in that crowd? You have the content to upload every single day, 7 days a week for like a couple of years probably, right? So to me, that says that you can dominate the homepage every single day. If nothing else, you would be featured by the company. The marketplace itself would invest in you and have a marketing campaign built around like this workhorse that is in Dremia that's from another galaxy, obviously, because he's cranking out something new every single day. And you can also go watch him do it live. You know what I mean? So I think you have an opportunity. You need to cash in on it. I think you've been saying for a really long time, yeah, but what if, but what about, and what hasn't been done is actually uploading it. So I would really challenge you to start tapping into the wealth of content that you've been creating. When, like I was saying earlier, when you share it with your friends, it doesn't do anything nowadays. You know what I mean? Because friends don't buy licenses. You know what I mean? And everyone just listens to streaming music. They don't purchase the albums. It's not the same anymore. So I think this really is a really solid way for you to start gaining traction. And I think you deserve it too. Saf says, I say constantly upload stuff on the marketplace, produces much sounds and try to pick what works the best. I remember you saying that being shown on places like YouTube, you will most likely be found. I think you might have answered that. Yeah, and staff is kind of exploring which marketplaces work and don't work right now. And yeah, that takes a little while. That's why I'm saying go into one, start to get your footing, get your workflows down, establish your brand, figure out all of the things, the kinks and whatnot, right? And get that all worked out and then start expanding. Just give yourself an opportunity to grow up a little bit in that space and have some good original ideas that you can build on. How can you tell if your quality is poor versus bad marketing? Surround yourself with honest people. And you shouldn't have a bunch of yes men around you. There's no reason for people to say yes to you if it's bad. So if people are telling you that your stuff is good, then the next thing, the bad marketing thing, it's not marketing. It's not marketing because there isn't a marketing campaign yet. You know what I mean? Like putting yourself up on Spotify or announcing a new thing on Facebook or whatever is not reaching people outside of your bubble. It's just really not, right? So the best way to do that is to put stuff into a marketplace, and they are designed to extract money out of your content. So if you continue to put content into their system, they will extract money from it. In other words, there will be sales, right? And they are the ones that are the marketing engine for you. And then you just walk away from the rest and you just make stuff. Licensing for complete tunes for soundtracks, etc. Okay, yeah, so you can do this one of two ways. It's either through royalties or royalty free, okay? Here's the big difference. In royalties, you've got hundreds, maybe thousands of people competing for that one thing. And they've submitted this song probably hundreds of times to other campaigns in hopes of getting into them as well. The odds of you getting that are slim. They really, really are. Mostly because of that competition and because of the value target of that gig, of that placement, right? Relying upon catching that next big fish every time you need to eat is a very stressful thing. It's also a harder sell to say, this track placement, I got to get $3,500 out of this placement plus royalties. That's what I need to feel successful with this. That's a big ask, right? You've got to be working with an agency or something at that point. If you have a royalty-free portfolio and that same track is up for sale, Andromeda, thank you. I freaking love that gazelle every time. I appreciate you, homie. Shoot, what was I saying? Okay, you put it up for $5 or $20 compared to that obscene number, right? And all of a sudden, you've got people downloading it for their YouTube videos, and you've got people downloading it for their explainer videos, and you've got people downloading it to like use in their video game, and you've got people buying it just to listen to it. And the best thing is that you start getting contacted by people that want bespoke material. That's where. Like, that's the real reason to put together these portfolios, if you ask me, is to get the clients. I've had portfolios up around, and absolutely the best thing to come out of all of them are the clients, 100%. Dremia says, I think soul is related to creating something you enjoy, your soul, versus creating the market, which you may not enjoy, but you can create losing your soul, aka selling out. And those are things that are constructed by the people that are not there yet. That's the point that I was trying to make earlier, that whole selling out thing. That's not a real thing, right? People do what they want to do in life. You don't have to create a certain kind of music. Don't do that. If you don't want to do that, then don't do that. And don't fool yourself into believing that you have to do that, because you don't. That's not what people want. That's not what the business is about. It's a way for us to not have to do something when we say stuff like that. That's what I've learned. Dremia says, I've noticed that my music, for example, gets a lot of, oh, wow, that's interesting, versus mainstream music that gets the, yo, that's a banger, my eyes are melting. Yes. Okay, so in Dremia, you can never expect that. With your music, you can't expect that. That's not what your music is. You know what I mean? If you were trying to get that result, you would be making things very differently, but you are obviously in love with your process. And that's awesome. And no, it's not going to be, these aren't bangers. You know what I mean? These aren't eye-melting bangers that kids are going to jump around to in clubs. It's just not what you make. You know what I mean? Vangelis is never going to have those things either. You know what I mean? Like, the large majority of people are not going to fall into that category, and yet we know countless people that we would consider heroes of sound that are doing all right. So get on average 3 views a day on YouTube. I'm about 10 years from monetizing, but yeah, I do have a bit of content out. Yeah. Yeah, Indremia, I hear you. You prefer brutal honesty. You can't learn or progress otherwise. I know I can make stuff. I need to know if I should continue. Yeah, the answer is yes, because you're driven to and you're going to. So you might as well monetize that stuff, homie. That's what I say. Keep doing what you're doing. That's what I say. You just have to put the stuff there. You just got to put the stuff up, man. You just got to put the stuff up. All of your stuff has been released independently. That means you have 0 restrictions in all of these marketplaces, homie. Go to one of them and start uploading something every single day for 1 month and see what happens. See what happens. You've got a lot of content, and all it takes is putting the content out there in the right place. That's all it takes. Yo, Paintball, how you doing, homie? Andromeda says, I love all my music. I don't want to melt eyes. That's scary. Yeah, exactly. So just take that out of the conversation completely. You know what I mean? Just take that out of your entire complex of thought. Like, that's no longer there. And don't worry about trailer music either. That's not a thing. And don't worry about